How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Lighting the Lamp podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Hallahan, and to say this is a special episode is truly an understatement. We got NHL legend, future Hall of Famer PK Subban coming on the podcast. PK, how are you today?
Let's go. I'm great. It's a beautiful sunny day in the city, so couldn't be happier.
All right, that's what I like to hear. So, a question I got sent in a lot for me to ask you was, did you plot out your infamous big hit on Brad Marchand back in 2010?
you know, um, no, I don't plot those things out too much because I think as a defenseman, you want to be physical, but you also don't want to take yourself out of position trying to hit somebody. So, especially when you're playing against great players like Brad Marchand, I think in that case, nobody really knew that I could hit like that yet. I was still in my rookie season, so I think it was a little bit unexpected. And with the rivalry with Boston, I think at that moment in the game, and the intangibles that Brad Marchand brought to the game, with his pesky ways and his physicality and how he gets under your skin. I definitely wanted to make sure that everybody knew on the ice that if you came down on my side, you were going to have to pay the price. And after that hit, I'll tell you this, it changed a lot. Not too many guys wanted to come down my side, and I threw a couple more, but that one was the biggest one, no doubt. That was a big one. And I remember it like it was yesterday because I remember he beat one guy, came to the middle, and he angled him perfectly. I knew he was coming back outside, so I just anticipated it and started to move, and that's when I caught him. By the time he got his head up, it was too late.
All right, there you go. So, big heartbreak moment for me when I was talking about when I was younger was when you got traded from Montreal to Nashville. Little me will never forgive Marc Bergevin for that. So, what were you told that day when you got traded?
You know, uh, it's interesting because that year was a funny year. It didn't feel right. I had a couple conversations at the start of the year. I had changed my curve. I remember at the beginning of the year to try to change my game a little bit more to get more wrist shots to the net. So I started the season using a toe curve. And then, I remember Burge had said to me, like, how come you're not scoring goals? And it was a big deal. I remember I did an interview once, and for probably one of the first times I had ever kind of sounded off on a reporter was he had said something like, you only got like 2 or 3 goals this season, but I had like maybe 15 or 18 assists. So I was still about around a point game. And I said, well, my job's not to score goals, it's to facilitate offense. And I remember one of my mentors had said to me, he said, PK, you're getting frustrated. That's not you. That's not who you are. But I just felt that year that everything I did, there was fault about it, right? So when you feel that, I think it's kind of unsettling. Your relationship with the team sort of changes, and you don't feel like you're being celebrated for what you bring to the team. And I continue to play hard. I remember the year I got traded. I didn't have a bad year. I mean, I finished. I think my plus minus was like -4 that year, but our team didn't make the playoffs. We were up and down. I think I finished the season with like 50 points, so I was kind of around where I usually was around. So why was I traded? For me, I'm not sure. I still never got an explanation for that. But one thing that definitely did happen was we all know about when, Burge said that he wasn't trading me and, he wasn't going to trade me. And then it happened. But I knew where there was smoke, there was fire. And when nobody comes to you and says, hey, PK, we're not trading you, nobody did that. And I felt that there was a little bit of a loophole in my contract. I had a full no movement, no trade clause, but it didn't kick in. I think it was until like July 1st. I think they traded me like June 28th or something like that. So they traded me like a day or two before that no trade clause had kicked in. So, my age was probably the biggest reason of why I was able to get traded because I just wasn't protected. But, I think they felt that was best for them. I think also, I established my independence. I always wanted to do things my way. So it worked out for me. I thought it was working well for the team, but I guess not.
All right, there you go. So, one of the I from a fan's perspective, excuse me, your biggest and best relationship with a teammate would be with Carey Price. So, every day in Montreal, what did he bring to the table?
Well, Pricey's just a very likable guy. It's almost like if you don't, if Pricey doesn't like you, there's probably something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like he's an easy guy to get along with, very, very laid back, always tries to be positive. So he and I got along very, very well. We still do. Pricey, I got a special place for him just because when I came into the league, Halak was still playing and I saw Pricey not be in the net, but still have a positive mindset and attitude. And that's why when he got in the net my rookie year, I wanted to play hard in front of him. And I think he knew that. And that's where we started to build our bond. And I know his sister Kayla, his family, I respect Pricey a lot, his family, his mom and dad, everybody. Love Pricey, always will. And my time with them was great. So Pricey is the best. He's exactly what you would think of that he would be.
No, I love to hear that. So, not only that I believe this, but I think a lot of people think that your career ended way too soon. So, can you kind of give us a little insight on why you called it quits in professional hockey so early?
Well, I think that, I also understood my value and what I bring. I think when you establish your independence in any profession, you take ownership of what you bring to the table. And I know what I can bring to a team. And the reality is, though, is that I didn't get an offer. Like nobody really stepped up and offered me anything. I'm sure you look around the league now and there's probably a lot of teams that could use me. But the reality is that summer, nobody really gave me an offer. Actually, the Devils didn't re-sign me because they couldn't guarantee that I'd be in the lineup every night, So if you're not going to guarantee that I'm going to be in the lineup, I'm not playing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. Not for where I am in my career and what I know I can bring. That just means it's not the right situation for me. And but I never got any offers, like, which was surprising to me. Couldn't believe it. With a lot of the teams that are involved, when you think about it, I mean, I don't think that there's, 6 defensemen on every team in the National Hockey League that are better than me. But, that's just the situation that I was in. So I guess you could say that I took my ball and just went down the road. But that's kind of where I was. And I think for me, I was happy. I was happy to move forward. I was able to do that. And I also know the type of person that I am. If I'm not going to be stimulated to be able to maximize my potential and give everything I can, then I'm going to be more frustrated than happy. And if a team doesn't see that they can use me, then, quite frankly, I'm fine with moving on.
All right, there we go. So now that's just the mysteries cleared up. So that's good. We got to do that on the podcast. So speaking
What do you
of,
think, Thomas? What do you think about it?
I think I'll like I think you probably could still be playing. Like there's like, the Coyotes could probably use you, like those bottom teams. Like I don't think you'd get the door slammed in your face. I don't think, but that's just coming from me. So kind of continuing after your career, you took the route of being an analyst for ESPN. So how did that kind of get brought up to you, and why'd you decide to take that path?
Yeah, I hadn't really come up with a plan. My initial plan, I mean, I worked out that whole summer, dedicated myself to training. I do what I did every summer. Yeah, I go on my little vacation, but, I was in tremendous shape and I was ready to go, waiting for an opportunity. The closest thing, I did talk to Carolina a little bit, but that didn't really materialize. And then there was rumors with Edmonton that, maybe something was going to happen there, but that didn't happen either. A lot of it had to do with cap reasons. People made excuses about that. But, for me, I think in that situation, I was prepared to play hockey. And then when that training camp had started, I had said, listen, if I don't get an offer to go to training camp or I get a contract in one of the places that I wanted to play. And that was another thing. I didn't want to play in all 32 cities. I wanted to play for contending teams and for competing teams. I wanted to win a Stanley Cup. So, that's another thing to take into consideration, that a lot of these teams have younger defensemen that they wanted to give an opportunity to. So when I didn't get that, I retired. I had no idea what I was going to do after. Didn't think about ESPN, wanted to, if you remember, I didn't do any interviews, didn't do any podcasts, didn't do anything for months, actually. Just wanted to go down the road. Didn't want to make a huge deal out of my retirement, to be honest, because that's my decision. It's not on, about anybody else. But ESPN kind of didn't really give me a chance. They kind of approached me that same week and said, hey, we'd love to sit and talk about you working on the broadcast. And long behold, they offered me a 3-year deal, and it was the right situation for me. And between that and doing my own show, PK's Places on ESPN Plus, I was able to kick the tires on a new career, and it's been great so far. So, I'm happy doing it. I think as long as fans and the players love it, I'll continue to do it.
Yeah, we all the fans love seeing you on the show for sure. So March the 10th, 2016 is a pretty significant date for both of us. That was the night that you played your last game in Montreal, and I hope that I didn't kind of give you a little domino effect, because I attended the practice at Brassard that morning, and I hit my head pretty hard. All the players were giving out pucks, and I tumbled over the metal bleachers and banged on the boards. And I'm not sure if you were there or not, but I hope I didn't there just must have been head injuries in the air that night. But I don't know if you had much in your head, but were you going to say something?
I think you're fine. I don't think anybody saw it, so I think you're fine.
Well, there was a pretty good crowd there. I forget who it was. It might have been PA Parento that come over and checked up on me. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't have much consciousness at the time. But like I said, I don't know if you had much going on in your head, but what kind of was going through your system when you got injured?
It was tough because it was by my own player, right? So, Emlyn was going to finish ahead. And, I remember I'd rubbed out Marcus Foligno and my foot had gotten caught on his foot. And that's what allowed me to kind of go forward. So when I went forward, it put me in the pathway of Alexei Emlyn going to finish him. And that's when he clipped my head. So I remember the initial feeling. My neck had kind of gone like this and then to the side. And I remember it just shot down my arm. It was one of the scariest probably things that happened to me my whole career. It was this burning sensation like down my back. And, it's scary because, it's your neck. It's neurological. You want to make sure that there's, no damage. And the good thing was I started moving my hands right away. I had feeling in all my extremities. But for precautionary reasons, they wanted to stretch me off. And I remember for 6 weeks, I couldn't turn my head over my shoulder. I couldn't turn this way. It was just so tight. And, it was in spasm mode. And I remember the first night I went to the hospital and they gave me a bunch of Ativan and stuff to try to relax me. But that's why I didn't play that season and the rest of the season, because I just wasn't comfortable going back for pucks if I couldn't turn my neck. I don't think the team was happy about it. If I'm being honest, I think the team wanted me to play. I think they knew that I was going to be traded that offseason. And you know how it is when you're injured, you can't be traded, but they wanted me to come back and play. And I just didn't feel comfortable doing it at that moment in time. I had told them initially, I said, guys, I don't want to miss a game. And they said, no, you got to take your time. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to miss a game and break my Ironman streak, I'm going to make sure I come back and I'm ready to play. I'm not going to come back halfway, and risk that, injuries and neck injuries. If the team was concerned and didn't want me to play the next game, I was going to take the time to make sure I fully healed. And I don't think they really like that. I got offered to go to World Championships. I decided not to go to make sure I was 100%. And that's one thing I always tell players is put your health above everything. If you don't feel comfortable playing, don't go out there because, when something happens, at the end of the day, you're a piece of meat. The team moves on from you. And that's what happened that summer. They traded me. They're not responsible for my neck or my back or my knees or anything like that once they trade you. So I'm happy I took the time. Like I said, neck injuries were important, but thank God I made a recovery from it, and I was very lucky.
Yeah, no, you're definitely lucky for sure. So one of my probably my favorite childhood game growing up was the NHL EA Sports kind of series, I guess. And you were actually the cover athlete for NHL 19. So how did you get approached to do that?
I just remember one day, it was probably one of the most exciting days of my career. My agent at the time, Jill Smoller, had called me and said, uh, you know, we, we spoke to EA and you're going to be on the cover. And I was like above the moon. Like to me, that was just as cool as winning the Norris Trophy. Like to be on the cover of that video game, because I remember Jerome McGinley in 2003 was on the cover. And, as Jerome McGinley being a black hockey player, he was someone that I followed in the current game growing up. And he was a 50-goal scorer. He could play physical, someone I really looked up to. So to be on the cover was a sign to me that I had made it. And, I was in the league and that kids were going to be able to see me on that cover like I saw Jerome McGinley. So it was really, really cool. Special moment for me in my career. And interesting, because I didn't think that being on the cover was going to happen in Nashville jersey, but I'm happy it did. I think it was great for the city of Nashville, great for the game as well.
No, it was definitely cool for sure. So
Great
you were
Sally,
part.
great Sally on the cover.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. That's kind of my go-to Sally now. So
Go.
you were part of the 2013 lockout. So what was kind of the atmosphere throughout the league during that time? As you know, I was only about 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, what was kind of like, going on throughout the locker rooms and just throughout the league in general?
Yeah, not much going on for a lot of guys. For me, there was a lot going on because I was an RFA, so I didn't have a contract. And, I was paying attention to the lockout, but at the same token, we had a new GM. Mark Bergevin had been hired. I hadn't met him yet. He was in charge of, getting me signed. I didn't have a contract, so I waited. And during the lockout, I remember I trained just as hard as I always do. And I remember once the lockout was over and we had signed, I still didn't have a contract. So, that was like an interesting situation to be in. And, they came to me, they wanted to, give me a gap deal. But at that moment in time, I wanted a long-term deal with Montreal. It's a place I wanted to play. And I remember specifically, I'd asked for like a 5-year deal. I think I had asked for like $5 million a year. So Andre Markov at the time was making 5.75, and I told the team that I didn't want to make more than him because I thought he was the best player on our team at that time, and I had so much respect for him. And they said, no, we want gap deals. We want gap deals. I held out for 4 years, and then my mom said, PK, you got lots of time. You're young. You're 21. Go and play hockey. And I did, and I went and won the Norris Trophy and that season, and it was a great year for me. But the lockout was so interesting to be sitting around. It was the first time I also worked on TV with Sportsnet. I went and did some AHL games. I actually did one of Brendan Gallagher's games when he was in Hamilton playing. So that was cool. That's kind of where my TV career kind of started. So the lockout was very productive for me, but it was an experience in the whole.
There you go. So one of the biggest what if moments in Canadians history, maybe NHL history, is what if Chris Kreider didn't slide into Price in the 2014 conference finals? So do you believe in the least biased opinion possible that the Habs could have won the cup in 2014 if Price hadn't have gotten injured?
Uh, it's difficult to say. I think we would have definitely had a better opportunity to do so, having Carey Price in net. I think what's unfortunate about it is that you had Pricey and Lundqvist, who are two great goaltenders at the same time, going head to head. And you want to see those two guys healthy, being able to play against each other and battle. And I think that was the unfortunate part about it is not being able to see Pricey be able to play that moment. For him, that was something that, was, oh, wait, hold on. Someone's calling me. I'm sure that's something for him that, probably things today, not being able to be healthy for that. But I definitely believe if he was healthy, that the series would have been different. I think we would have definitely had a better chance. Once we lost him, it was a huge confidence boost to them, obviously, knowing that they were going to look at another goaltender. So losing him for sure. But, LA's a hell of a team. The Kings ended up winning a couple cups. So who knows? We would have had to beat them. And I like their team. Their team was a really, really good team. But having Carey Price in net would have definitely given us a better opportunity, a crack at it for sure.
Yeah, no, I understand because you're pretty good buddies with Lundqvist, so I understand why you don't want to throw him under the bus too much. So you actually are pretty fortunate. Yeah, two brothers, Malcolm and Jordan, play pro hockey. So growing up with them, how did they kind of influence or develop, I guess, your playing career?
Well, actually, we developed playing hockey in our hallway, playing mini sticks on the backyard rink. We played shitty at Sunny Lee here in Toronto, so we were always playing together. And ironically, Malcolm started off as a player, but he would always want to be the one to go in net. And me and Jordan used to do like what we would call pass and play, where we would just do like basically 2-on-1 on the goalie, and we would do that all the time. So for us, we watched all the Don Cherry tapes. We watched all the highlights. We played NHL all the time. We were just like rink rats. We always wanted to be around the game and play the game. So, learning about the game was fun for us because we were having fun doing it. And I think that's what's important about sports is you got to love what you do. You got to love and be passionate about the sport. And we always wanted to play.
All right, yeah, that's great for sure. So one of the you're known as one of the most fashionable athletes in not just hockey history, but just history in general, I'll say. So but why do you take your fashion game so seriously?
It's just a part of me. It's something I'm passionate about. I don't think I take it seriously. I think it's who I am, to some people, they might see it as a lot of effort and a waste of time, but everybody has things that they're passionate and interested in. And, it's some things are for you, some things aren't for you. For me, I was always taught by my parents to look a certain way when I leave the house. And I think a lot of that has to do with how you're raised and looking respectful and how you present yourself, represent your business, your family name. Also, like what type of vibe you want to give off, what you want people to think of you. So, I think that my fashion has sort of evolved over the years, and I've definitely been more creative with it. But it's a way of myself expressing myself. I also am an artist. I used to sketch before I played pro hockey. I had like over 100 sketchbooks. So in some ways, I'm an artist, and I don't draw, and I don't sketch really anymore because of my career. But when I need to, I can definitely design. And I think as an artist, it's a way to express myself. And that's important to me, to be able to express myself. And if you can't do it drawing, then I do it through my fashion and what I wear. And that works for me.
All right, there you go. So you're always been known as a big, big charity guy, you know what I mean? Especially around the Children's Hospital in Montreal. So you made, I think it's like one of the largest donations in Canadian athlete history, or just athletes in general, the $10 million donation to the Children's Hospital of Montreal. So what or who influenced you to make that historic donation?
Great question. My family, I come from a big family, but a family that's also my mother who raised five kids. So she's dedicated her life to family. Both my sisters are teachers. My one sister actually is a principal now. My dad was a principal and educator for over 40 years, still is. My sister's husband's actually a teacher as well. So, education and helping children has been something that I was kind of raised in and I grew up in. So that's what I know is giving back and seeing my family members give to children every day in their line of work. So for me, in a lot of ways, as much as I've worked really hard to get to where I am, I feel that I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be able to give back. And when you are blessed with that opportunity, you can't imagine what it feels like to do it if you've never done it. But when you can help thousands of people, potentially millions of people, and give them a quality of life that they never thought they could imagine, it's pretty rewarding. So, Stanley Cups are great, rings are good, Norris trophies are good, gold medals are good, all that stuff's great. But to be able to leave an impact on the game that's given me a lot in a way that helps a lot of other people is pretty special too. And that's something that allows me to live my life and live it the way that I do.
That's incredible, PK. So, if you know me, I'm a pretty big history guy, especially when it comes to hockey and the Canadians. So, you had a little, I don't know if you want to call it a relationship or a little, yeah, I don't know what you want to know it as, but with Jean Beliveau's wife, Elise Beliveau. So how did that kind of, all come about? Being, I remember watching on TSN, blowing the kiss to her. So how did that all kind of, start and come about?
Awesome. No problem. Elise, this is a great question because I got to go way back to when I was 12 years old. I met Jean Beliveau for the first time. I remember I was playing at Beatrice Ice Gardens, where York University is in Toronto. And my coach, Martin Roth, used to do autograph signings, and he brought in Jean Beliveau to do one. And he came to the game, and he comes in the room before the game, and I was the captain of the team of the Mississauga Reps at the time. And he goes, "Hockey's a team sport. You have to play together as a team to win." And then he looks at me and he points at me and he goes, "It's your job as the captain to lead the team." So we go out and we pump this team. Like, I think it was like 11-3. It was the Mississauga Rebels. We pumped them. And I'll never forget that moment because it was the first time I'd ever seen my dad in tears. He was so happy to meet Jean Beliveau. He was such a big fan. And the second time I saw Jean Beliveau was my first playoff game. I think it was my first playoff game back in Montreal. I'm walking out on the ice and he's sitting two rows behind the bench with Elise. And that was the first time I'd seen Elise. And she knew how much Jean Beliveau had impacted me in my career and just the type of gentleman he was. In a lot of ways, the charitable donation is in a lot of ways a reflection of people like Jean Beliveau who continue to give themselves and were such gentlemen and respectful people to the game and the people around them, but also the people that they just encountered on the street and coffee shops. That's what he represents, is that high level of class and elegance that we all should really look up to. And want to be just like Jean. We'll never forget him, but Elise is definitely an extension of him and his legacy. And every time I have an opportunity to see her being in Montreal, I try to. And she's given me a couple paintings of Jean since he's passed, which is pretty special. But I got a great relationship with her.
That's incredible, PK. And doing this interview with you has also been a true honor. So I can't thank you enough for, I know you got a very busy schedule, but I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on.
Awesome, Thomas. Thank you for reaching out. I love the edit on the video before, and keep working at it. You're a great interview, so I appreciate it. Thank you.